avoidance and lovey, why they push you away but still want you. Have you ever been with someone who pulls you in only to push you away the moment things start to feel real? One day, they're pouring out their heart to you, sharing deep conversations, holding your hand like they never want to let go. And the next, they go cold, distant, like they forgot how much they just revealed. You're left asking, did I do something wrong? Did I misread everything? Let me tell you this, you didn't. What you're likely dealing with is someone with an avoidant attachment style. And here's what you need to understand: avoidants are not incapable of love. In fact, many of them crave it. They want closeness. They want connection. But the moment it starts to feel too intimate, something in their nervous system screams, danger! Their walls don't go up because of you. They go up because of what connection represents to them. Risk, vulnerability, the possibility of being hurt, controlled, or overwhelmed. They grew up learning that independence has safety and dependency, weakness or loss. So even though they want love, they're scared of what it might cost. That's why they send mixed signals. That's why they back away just when things start getting good. But here's where it gets important for you. Just because someone has a wound doesn't mean you have to bleed for it. It's not your job to chase them. It's not your job to heal them. And it's not your role to prove that love is safe. The right relationship will feel mutual. You won't have to decode texts or shrink yourself to feel worthy. You won't feel like you're constantly walking on emotional eggshells. If you're with someone who pushes you away but still wants to keep a thread attached to you, that's not love. That's emotional limbo, and you deserve clarity. So the question becomes not, do they want me? But do they show up in a way that honors me? Love shouldn't feel like a game of tug of war. When it's right, you'll feel pulled toward each other, not pushed away. Avoidants crave love but fear vulnerability. This is the paradox that leaves so many people confused, hurt, and stuck in relationships that feel like emotional roller coasters. On the surface, someone with an avoidant attachment style might seem independent, self-sufficient, even distant. They can come off as emotionally unavailable or uninterested. But underneath that exterior is often someone who deeply wants connection. They just don't trust it. The truth is, avoidants often grew up in environments where emotional needs were seen as burdens. Maybe they had caregivers who were emotionally distant themselves, or they were taught, directly or indirectly, that needing others made them weak. As a result, they learned to rely on themselves, to retreat inward, and to suppress their desire for closeness. Love didn't feel like safety, it felt like a risk. So even when they find someone who makes them feel good, cared for, and connected, their internal alarm goes off. Vulnerability to them doesn't just feel uncomfortable, it feels dangerous. What makes avoidant behavior so confusing is that it doesn't stay consistent. One moment they might open up, say something tender, share something personal, or make you feel like you're the most important person in their world. But soon after, they'll retreat. Sometimes subtly, sometimes abruptly. You might get a text that feels colder than usual, or they might create distance, get irritable, or suddenly need space. This push-pull dynamic is what keeps people emotionally hooked, constantly trying to recreate the moments of connection, while anxiously wondering what went wrong. What's happening here is that the avoidant person is stuck between two conflicting desires, the need for love, and the fear of it. When they feel too close, they pull away. Not because they don't care, but because they do. Caring too much triggers their fear of being dependent or losing themselves. Ironically, the more they care, the more threatened they feel, because deep connection challenges the identity they've built around emotional self-protection. They want love, but they're terrified of being vulnerable enough to truly receive it. This dynamic creates a relationship that is filled with hope and heartbreak. The moments of warmth and closeness are real. That's what makes it so hard to leave. But those moments are always followed by a wall, a retreat, a pulling away that leaves the other person doubting themselves. If you've ever felt like you were being punished just for getting close to someone, chances are you were dealing with an avoidant. Understanding this doesn't excuse the behavior, but it can help explain it. Avoidants aren't cold-hearted or incapable of love. They just learn to associate love with loss of control, fear, or engulfment. So they spend their time to manage both their feelings and the feelings of others by keeping relationships at arm's length. How you not? Their actions aren't about a lack of feeling. They're about an overload of it. Love for them isn't simple. It's overwhelming. Mixed signals aren't your fault. When you're in a relationship or even a situationship with someone who has an avoidant attachment style, their behavior can leave you feeling like you're constantly doing something wrong. One day they're affectionate, responsive, and engaged. The next they're distant, cold, or emotionally unavailable. This hot and cold pattern makes you question yourself. You start overanalyzing everything: your tone, your text, your actions. You might even begin blaming yourself, thinking, maybe I came on too strong, or maybe I should have waited a little longer to reply. But here's the true thing: it's not about you. People with avoidant tendencies operate from a different emotional blueprint. They're wired to protect themselves from closeness, especially when it feels too real or too intense. That means when they feel like they're getting pulled into emotional territory that makes them vulnerable, their instinct is to pull away. Not because you were too much, not because you said the wrong thing, because their nervous system has learned to interpret intimacy as a threat. Avoidants often live in their heads. They analyze feelings instead of expressing them. They compartmentalize emotions instead of sitting with them. So when someone gets close, when love starts to feel intimate and emotionally real, they don't know how to handle it. It's not a reflection of your worth or your behavior. It's a reflection of their discomfort with emotional exposure. They might still be interested in you, even deeply care about you, but their fear of emotional dependency causes them to send mixed signals. This creates an exhausting cycle. You feel a wave of connection and think things are moving forward, only to be hit with silence, sarcasm, or withdrawal. That inconsistency makes you question whether your connection was ever real, but it was. The avoidant did feel something. They just couldn't stay present in it for long without feeling overwhelmed. That's why they pull away when things get emotionally intense. That's why they seem to need distance right after a vulnerable moment. That's why they often say they want a relationship, but act like they're afraid of having one. If you don't understand this dynamic, it's easy to internalize their inconsistency. You might think, if I were more chill, they'd stick around. Or, if I acted less invested, maybe they wouldn't back off. But changing yourself to accommodate someone else's emotional avoidance won't make the relationship healthier. In fact, it usually leads to more anxiety, more self-doubt, and more emotional instability on your end. Their mixed signals are not a reflection of your value. They're a reflection of their internal conflict. Wanting closeness, but not knowing how to tolerate it. So when they come close and then retreat, it's not because you did something wrong. It's because closeness triggers their defense mechanisms. The more you internalize their inconsistency as your failure, the more power you give to a cycle you didn't create. This isn't about you not. You deserve someone who doesn't make you question whether you're enough just because love starts to feel real. It's not your job to heal them. When you're involved with someone who has an avoidant attachment style, it can be tempting to try and fix things. After all, if you care about them, right, you want them to feel safe enough to open up, right? You want to help them work through their walls, to break down the emotional barriers they've built over years of guarding themselves. But here's the important thing to remember. It's not your responsibility to heal someone else's wounds, no matter how much you care for them or want them to trust you. People with avoidant tendencies often have deeply ingrained emotional patterns that were formed in childhood. These patterns can be complex and sometimes painful, and overcoming them is a journey that requires self-awareness, self-work, and the willingness to confront the discomfort of vulnerability. Healing from emotional wounds takes time, effort, and most importantly, a person's own commitment to doing the work. It's not something you can do for them. As much as you may want to be their emotional safe haven, it's essential to recognize that it's not your job to fix them. Trying to heal an avoidant partner often leads to frustration and emotional burnout. Why? This isn't you not, because you're constantly putting in more emotional energy than they're willing or able to give in return. This isn't about you not. While you may believe that your patience and understanding will eventually help them drop their walls, you might find yourself waiting for something that may never come. No matter how much reassurance you offer or how often you show up for them, they may still retreat when things start too vulnerable. Their emotional patterns are automatic. This isn't about you. They have learned to protect themselves by keeping others at arm's length. And no matter how much love you give them, if they're not ready or willing to address their attachment style, that love won't be able to change dynamics. When you try to heal someone, you also risk losing sight of your own emotional needs. In a relationship, both partners need to feel supported, loved, and respected. But when you're so focused on giving to someone else's emotional wounds, you might start neglecting your own needs. This can leave you feeling unappreciated, emotionally drained, and even resentful. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, if I just try harder, they'll see how much I care. But the reality is, love is a two-way street. A healthy relationship requires both partners to show up and be emotionally available, not just one person constantly trying to patch the holes of the other. Additionally, healing is something that be chosen by the person who needs it. If your partner doesn't acknowledge or take responsibility for their avoidant tendencies, they won't be motivated to change. And no matter how many conversations you have or how many ways you try to make them feel understood, you can't force someone to face their fear of vulnerability or attachment. In fact, pushing them to heal may push them further away. They might retreat even more, reinforcing the cycle of emotional distance that has always been their defense mechanism. You can offer love, support, and encouragement, but ultimately, healing has to come from within. Your job is to take care of yourself and to recognize that you deserve someone who shows up emotionally. While you can encourage your partner to do the work, it's not on you to make them feel safe enough to change. Your emotional well-being matters just as much as theirs, and you need to prioritize your own happiness and self-respect in the process. Not. Emotional clarity is far more important than emotional limbo. When you're with someone who has an avoidant attachment style, one of the hardest things to navigate is the sense of uncertainty that often comes with the relationship. One minute, everything feels perfect. You're emotionally connected, they're engaged, and the relationship seems like it's moving in the right direction. But then, without warning, they pull away, leaving you in a state of confusion, wondering what went wrong. You might start second-guessing yourself, replaying conversations, looking for signs that you missed. This emotional limbo can make you feel lost, unsure, and anxious about where things stand. But here's the reality: you deserve emotional clarity. You deserve to know where you stand in the relationship, to feel secure in your connection, and to know that your feelings are being honored. Emotional limbo, this constant state of ambiguity and doubt, will not serve you in the long term. It creates a toxic cycle where you're constantly searching for answers, questioning your worth, and waiting for the other person to give you the reassurance that you need. The problem is, an avoidant person, by nature, has a hard time providing that clarity because they are emotionally inconsistent. This isn't about you not. They may even be aware of how their actions affect you or how much uncertainty they're introducing into the relationship. It's important to understand that this kind of emotional back and forth isn't something you should settle for. While the highs of the relationship may feel great, the lows, the moments when they retreat or withdraw emotionally, can leave you feeling emotionally unstable. You may begin to feel like you're walking on eggshells, unsure of when the next cold period will arrive, and constantly try and interpret their behavior to understand where you fit into their life. This cycle keeps you emotionally hooked, but it also leaves you in a constant state of waiting for something that may never come: consistency, stability, and clear emotional communication. The problem with emotional limbo is that it doesn't allow either person to grow. Without clarity, both partners remain stuck in a pattern of uncertainty. You may begin to question whether your partner actually values you or if they're simply keeping you around because they enjoy the attention without being able to fully commit. On the other hand, the avoidant person may continue to retreat into their emotional defenses, not knowing how to provide the clarity you need and not knowing how to express their feelings in a way that feels safe. The result is a stagnant relationship where emotional growth is stifled and both people end up feeling unfulfilled. Clarity in a relationship is built on open, honest, and consistent communication. It's about knowing where you stand, what your partner's intentions are, and feeling secure in the relationship. In a healthy relationship, both people show up and are emotionally present, not just when it's convenient, but consistently, even when things get tough. You deserve a partner who is capable of showing up for you, not just when it's easy or when they're in the mood for closeness, but all the time. Someone who is willing to engage in clear, direct communication, someone who is emotionally available enough to reassure you when needed, and someone who doesn't leave you wondering if they're invested in the relationship or just going through the motions. When you're stuck in emotional limbo, you're not moving forward, you're stuck. You deserve a relationship where you feel safe to express yourself and where your emotions are met with respect and understanding. No one should have to feel like they constantly interpret their partner's behavior, waiting for them to show up in ways that leave them emotionally drained and confused. You need emotional clarity so you can make informed decisions about whether the relationship is moving in a direction that aligns with your emotional needs. Instead of asking, "Do they love me?" you need to ask, "Are they showing up for love in a way that honors me?" This shift in perspective is crucial when you're in a relationship with someone who has an avoidant attachment style. The question, "Do they love me?" is loaded with uncertainty, and often it leads you down a path of self-doubt. You begin questioning their feelings for you, trying to decode every interaction, every text message, every change in their behavior. When you focus too much on whether they love you, you allow their mixed signals and emotional inconsistency to cloud your judgment. The truth is, love isn't just about words, it's about actions, consistency, and the way someone shows up in a relationship, even when things aren't perfect. When you shift the question to, are they showing up for love in a way that honors me? You start focusing on the behavior that truly matters. Love isn't just a feeling, it's a commitment. It's about how someone chooses to engage with you emotionally, how they prioritize you in their life, and how they handle challenges together with you. In a healthy relationship, love looks like mutual respect, emotional availability, and effort from both sides. If you're with someone who has avoidant tendencies, this isn't about their fear of vulnerability might make them pull back when things feel too intense, but it's essential to look at how they show up consistently, especially when they're faced with emotional discomfort. If someone truly cares about you, they will make an effort to be present. They will communicate openly, make time for you, and be there when you need them, even if they struggle with intimacy. That's not to say that every relationship will be perfect or that you should expect your partner to be available 100% of the time, but the key is the intention behind their actions. Are they making an effort to work through their fears of vulnerability? Are they committed to showing up for you, even when it's difficult for them? Or are they constantly avoiding emotional connection, leaving you feeling disconnected and questioning your worth? When you ask yourself whether someone is showing up for love in a way that honors you, you're also acknowledging your own needs. You're acknowledging that you deserve someone who is capable of being emotionally present and who values the connection just as much as you do. You are not asking for perfection, but you are asking for consistency, honesty, and emotional availability. It's easy to fall into the trap of wanting someone to love you so badly that you overlook their behavior. You might convince yourself that the occasional withdrawal or mixed signals are just temporary, that they'll come around eventually. This isn't about you not, but love should never leave you in a constant state of emotional uncertainty or make you question your worth. Shifting about your focus from asking whether someone loves you to whether they are showing up for love in a way that honors you puts the power back in your hands. You begin to realize that you are not at the mercy of someone's emotional availability. You deserve a partner who meets you halfway, who can be emotionally open and vulnerable when necessary, and who consistently demonstrates their commitment to building a meaningful connection. This shift in thinking allows you to assess the relationship based on how you're treated, not just how you feel in the moment. It's easy to get caught up in the emotional highs and lows of relationship with someone who has avoidant tendencies, but ultimately, love isn't about constantly chasing after someone's affection or trying to prove your worth. Love is about being seen, being valued, and feeling secure in a partnership. If someone is not showing up in a way that aligns with those needs, then you must ask yourself whether the relationship is truly fulfilling or if you're simply holding on to the hope that things will change. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. It's not always to phase these truths about love and relationships, but recognizing these patterns is the first step toward building healthier, more fulfilling connections. I hope you found some valuable insights today that can help you navigate the complexities of love and create relationships that truly honor who you are. Take care of yourself, and always remember, you deserve love that makes you feel whole, not confused. Thank you for your time, and I wish you all the best in your journey ahead. Goodbye.